Hey there YouTube, I'm back on the channel for another video. Been a little bit since the last one. I actually completely lost track of time. So I guess the good news is it's been busy enough that I really haven't noticed the passing of time. But then I realized it had been almost a couple of weeks since the last video. And I didn't really want to record another video without bringing the 1956 Top Showcase that I mentioned previously. Really, I played around a little bit with a couple of things. You'll get a chance to see. I'll flip to the footage in a couple of minutes here. I figured out a way to kind of take a top-down shot, kind of similar to what I used to do with some of the box breaks. So we're trying that out, but with a set showcase, it's a little trickier. But I think it turned out okay. We're going to find out at least in a little bit. You be the judge. So I am going to talk about 1956 tops, but a little bit of house cleaning things going. Hopefully things are going okay or well enough as they can wherever you are and whatever's going on in your side. Things have been pretty quiet on this end. Mostly I'm still working from home. It's been about a month. So eBay purchases have been pretty dead, although I did get a card come in the mail the other day. So I'll show that to you right now just so we can do that. So we'll do a little pickup / showcase thing going on. So this is from Artifacts. This is 2013, 2014 Artifacts. Hopefully I can get that to focus. So that's a Mike Modano jersey patch card. There we go. So it's out of 75. It's nothing too crazy, but it's a nice looking card. This is one of those ones where it's like, I needed it for the player collection, but at the same time, I just thought it was a neat looking card. And the price was really good, so I thought I'd pick it up. Really not looking to make any big ticket purchases. There is another card that I'm picking up that will be part of that late 90s run that I'm kind of putting together, but I'm patient, so I'm willing to wait on that one. We'll see how long it takes to come in. Anyway, so I'm actually using the iPad to give me a couple of notes for this next part that we're talking about here a little bit. So like I said, this is going to be a 1956 Top Showcase predominantly. I may record another video tomorrow just as a Sunday rambling thing. I've got some thoughts that I want to get through, but I really do want to get to the showcase video here for you, if that's what you want to check out. So we'll get to that without further ado. A couple of quick notes I'll make to you just ahead of time. This is a complete set that I put together over a couple of years. My philosophy at the time was a little bit different. I talked about that a fair bit in my 1,000 subscriber video, and it's crazy that I think I'm over 1,700 now. Although I mentioned in that video why I don't put too much stock in that number, but nonetheless, that's nice. Nothing that I'm going to complain about on the channel. At the time that I was putting this set together, my intention was to put together a run. I wanted to put together a run of all the Bowman cards and then the Topps cards until I think the cutoff was going to be 1980, maybe 81, something like that. And it was a good idea in concept, and I loved the concept of it as kind of a long-term project. But one of the things I realized, and I came to that conclusion a couple of years ago, is that realistically, obviously it's cost prohibitive, 52 Topps Mantle and other cards in that ilk. But the other aspect of it was I just didn't enjoy a lot of the different top sets, especially some of the ones in the 60s, and then especially some of the ones in the 70s, even though I put together some of those sets already. I just didn't have the enthusiasm to go after. 72 Topps is one I use as an example. Gigantic set, really tough high numbers, and even though it's like kind of a psychedelic design, it's interesting, I just never got that excited about it. So the prospect of putting together that set along with a bunch of other ones just made it really daunting. And there's a lot of sets in the 60s that I think are okay, but I'm not too excited about. So if you're not really excited about it, I'm kind of the mindset, especially now, that don't. If you really aren't that excited about it, then find something you are excited about. And that's kind of the approach that I took. This 56 Top set, though, I would have put together no matter what, because it is one of my favorites, without question. But because I was trying to put together a run, I was trying to be very economical, which means these are not a mint condition set, not a near mint condition set, not a mid-grade set. I would call it a fairly low-grade set. There's definitely some cards that are going to need some upgrading, and that's going to be a project that I'll probably take on over the next couple of years. I'll start picking up some cards here. But if I was going to build this set over again, basically the main point that I'm getting at is if I was going to build this set again, I would take a different approach. I would definitely take my time and really pick the pieces that kind of fit into the aesthetic that I like. Whether it be really nice centering, whether it be a good clear register, without too much damage, that kind of thing. You can definitely get some nice looking cards and still not break the bank. So this set was put together where I was really I was willing to take a hole in the card, and you'll see some examples of that, literally, a hole in the card over a hole in the binder, and I managed to do that, and the set is complete. So I'll go through that with you. A couple of other quick points that I'll make just beforehand. I think I mentioned it when I start going through the pages, but cards number 1 to 180 can be found with a gray back or a white back. And I don't think there's too much of a premium for either or, but I do know a lot of collectors that I'm familiar with in my travels that really decided it wasn't enough of a challenge to put together a set like this. They wanted to have both. So it takes a 340 card set and turns it into a 520 card set. So if you really are into that, and I do mention some other variations as well as I go through the cards, so be aware that there's some variations there as well. I'll use the Ted Williams as an example early on in that video. Last thing I'll mention to you, the team cards. There are some with different variations. Centered, left, center, and then where the team name is centered to the left, and then, aligned to the left or centered, and then ones with or without dates. So I think I use a couple of examples of that, and I try to just note certain specific cards that stand out to me on different pages, and there's definitely a lot of good Hall of Famers in this set. No rookie cards, no notable rookie cards, but you do definitely have a ton of Hall of Famers, and then a bunch of last cards of some Hall of Famers as well. So it is a really good representation of 1950s baseball. So if you're into that era, this is a great set as far as that's concerned, and aesthetically, it's just a wonderful set the way it is done. It's like 55 tops, but it adds just that one little extra element with the background, the way they do it. You'll get a chance to see more of the cards as you go along. But those are the main things I wanted to do. I'm just checking my notes here now to see if there's anything else that I haven't covered. No, I think that's it. So, little showcase of a card of pickup. So the one Modano to add to that set. I'm at $12.29 now. Hopefully, at some point in the near future, we'll get back to more normal type pickups, and there'll be more of this forthcoming. And then, now without further ado, let's get to the 1956 Topps showcase. Enjoy. All right, so hopefully this works out. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to try to get this angle. So I've got a little bit of an arm that points down. I brought back the top view, so hopefully that's a little bit easier to see the stuff. So let's take a look at it. Kind of as promised, so hopefully I did my preamble already and explained it, so I'm gonna go through the set. I won't talk about each individual card, but we'll talk about some of the notables. So I've got them in these 8 pocket pages, and I put some 55 Topps cards in the binder as well, so maybe we'll do that a different day, but this is at least a complete set here. So of course you got the American League and National League presidents. As I mentioned before, the set conditions are going to be all over the place, mostly low condition, so I'll note certain things where I need to. So you can see this is one of the ones, so Warren Giles here is trimmed kind of on the edges, so hopefully you can see that kind of. I'll zoom in on certain cards as I get into it, but you'll note this is going to be a theme on some of these cards. It dropped the price down, but like I said, if I was going to build this set again, I would probably just wait and find a higher condition version of the card, and some of these are going to get upgraded anyways as we go along. So first notable card for me, other than the two American League and National League presidents there, you got Ted Williams. So this is card number 5. Now, I'm going to kind of, not so much zoom in, I'm going to bring it a little closer. At least the arm is good for that. It is going to be a little shaky, so you have to forgive me on it. There we go. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. I don't want to use the real zoom because then it makes it blurrier. So, a couple of things about this. Obviously, the Ted Williams is kind of a low condition card here with the scuffing and everything, but I got this for $10 Canadian back in the day on at the card show in Toronto because the seller really didn't know what they had. Now, there's really no variation as far as is concerned other than the card backs, which I'll address in a minute. But one thing I do know as far as, I guess you could call it a variation, although you'd really have to be very picky as a collector to really go after them. I can tell you that this line here at the top above the Ted Williams actually comes in a couple of different colors, and then obviously you've got both the light and the gray backs. So if you really want to be picky and you just want to have multiple Ted Williams in your set, I suppose that is a way you could go about it. All right, now let me back up here for a second again. Not a bad idea, but it's a little tricky to pull this off sometimes, so hopefully you're getting a good view of the cards anyway. All right, so I'm going to flip this over. Let's take a look. So here on the back of the first page, you can see, so we got the white backs here, and then we've got a gray back for Carlos Paula. And then again, white backs for all of these. And if you were if you really wanted to go after it, you could definitely put together a set in the white backs and a set in these dark backs. You would need cards number 1 to 180, which I think I already mentioned, but I'm just going to mention it again. So let's take a look at page 2 here. So over here we got Warren Spahn. This one's a trimmed one. It's actually a nice looking card aside from the trimming. So I'll kind of get a little closer on that one just so you can see what I'm talking about. So it is a nice card. Unfortunately, it is a nice clean card on the front, but again, you know, the trimming obviously brings the condition down. So this is a candidate for upgrade at some point. And then we've got the first team card here with the Chicago Cubs. And a lot of these team cards, not all of them, but a lot of these team cards do come with various variations in terms of centering, and then some of them have a date and no date, and just be aware of stuff like that as far as the set is concerned. Okay, so I'm going to back up again. And also a little bit lower on the page here, we've got Ernie Banks, which I believe was the first Hall of Famer I ever got for the set. And he's probably one of the better conditioned ones, interestingly enough. And then this Hector Lopez definitely needs an upgrade. This was definitely a just fill the hole in the binder kind of pickup at the time. Like I said, these cards were picked up over many years, and I don't regret having a complete set, but I probably would take a different approach. But more than likely, I already talked about that a fair bit, so we're going to move on. Alright, so next here we got Alkaline, again, with the trimmed edges on that. Nice looking card otherwise, though, pretty clean. Okay, so nothing else notable here that I can think of. And then we got, I never can pronounce this right, so Ted Kluszewski is what I'm going to say. Notable player in the era. And a lot of the more interesting cards here were obviously the Yankees and the Dodgers. So on this page, we've got a couple of things going on. We got the Jackie Robinson, definitely, which is a great card. And the Hank Aaron, which I believe, if memory serves me, on the action shot, I believe that's actually Willie Mays for the action shot, even though we got Hank Aaron. And obviously this picture gets reused a lot in these couple of years, between the 55 and the 54. They really did make full mileage of it. And I believe, if memory serves me, this is Jackie Robinson's last card. So this set is notable for a lot of that. Not really a lot of rookies, but definitely a lot of Hall of Famers. So here we got the 55 Clemente. Great looking card. Now, much like the Mantle you'll see later, you got a hole punch in there, which definitely brings the price down. So this is another way you were able to save a little bit of money if that's what you want to do. Because eye appeal-wise, it's actually not bad otherwise. But unfortunately, that hole in it does take a little bit away. You got Al Rosen, you got some players here. And you got Don Mossy, who is not an attractive man, and the ears are gigantic on him. Okay, so let's move on here. So in this one we got Hank Sauer. This Windy McCall probably has seen better days. It got scuffed up pretty good. I'm sure that was involved in a kid's game at some point. Gus Zernial. Okay. We got Dusty Rhodes, not the professional wrestler, but the baseball player. Okay. And then this is a fun card. Not a Hall of Famer by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely a fun card from these eras. So you got Wally Moon with the glorious unibrow. Interesting. I don't know why he would have ever thought it was a good idea to walk out in public like that, but hey, he rolled with it. What are you going to do? All right. Let's kind of go through these a little bit quicker now. We're going to focus in on anything notable. So Mayo Smith, manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's keep going. Oh, and sorry, let me do one thing here. So you can see on some of them you've got the nicknames. So you got Duke Moss. And I think that happens in a couple of other players as well. So let me see. Chuck Stobbs was definitely one of the first cards I got for this, so that's just a memory of mine. Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh, you got your Sandy Koufax, 56 tops. Second year card. Similar to the Clemente. Great looking card, obviously. You got a little paper loss there. It's definitely not the highest condition example, but pretty clean otherwise. Not too bad, especially compared to some of the cards that I'll be going through later on here. Okay, let's see. So you got Babe Beerer. Cleveland Indians card that's trimmed up. Let's take a look here. All right, so here you go. Cincinnati Redlegs. So this one's got the date here, 1955. And a lot of these team cards do have stuff like that. So that's just something to note, like I mentioned earlier. You got the Milwaukee Braves, you know. You got Warren Spahn and Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews as well. So a great team in terms of Hall of Famers, especially in this era. Okay, Don Zimmer, early card for him. Now this Roy Campanella is definitely a candidate for replacement. You can't really tell too much from here, but if I back it up a little bit, I don't know if I can, maybe if I get a piece of paper, it'll help kind of convey the point a little bit better. Okay, so if you can see there, you got a lot of white showing up in the background because this thing was punched to hell all over the place. Definitely save some money on that card, but that's definitely a candidate for upgrade for sure. Like I said, the set's complete. I didn't say it was pretty. All right. So let's keep going. All right, Eddie Matthews, already mentioned earlier. Enos Slaughter, Yogi Berra. So this page is pretty good. There's definitely some pages where you're going to see a lot of star players, which is pretty cool. Phil Rizzuto. Jackie Jensen was actually a pretty decent player for the era. So Nellie Fox, and then Richie Ashburn. Pirates. Minoso, I should say. Easy for me to say. This is what happens when you record late. You probably shouldn't do that. All right, so this page is interesting. I like this one. So you got Willie Mays up here to start off at the top, so that's great. And then if you go down here, so you got hole in the binder. So this is actually card number 135, which I'm going to bring in right now. So there we go. And I believe I mentioned earlier already that the Mantle, much like the Roberto Clemente, so this is the only graded one I have for this set, and much like the Clemente, it's got a hole punched in it as well. But this is really a nice looking Mantle otherwise. It may be a candidate for upgrade, but regardless, I'd probably keep this one. I wouldn't mind having two of them anyway. But the truth is, this is definitely one of my favorite cards, especially of this set and especially of the era. One of my favorites for sure. The 56 Topps is always a favorite. And you can see there's a lot of damage on the back as well. But it's still legible. You can definitely read it. So that's a favorite card. So that's card number 135. And like I mentioned earlier, so this is the dark back. So the thing is, if I wanted to get another one, probably I'd get a light back just to have both. I definitely don't want to do cards 1 to 180 that way because this set's already long enough without adding some extra. But nonetheless, there it is. So there's where card number 35 is. And that would go right here. And it would go making this page. You got Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle there on both sides of the page. It's pretty good. All right, going to continue. Let's keep going. Nothing too crazy on this page. Gil Hodges up here. You got Duke Snider right here, so that's another decent little page there. So two Brooklyn Dodger guys. And you got Spook Jacobs. So there's a nickname for you. The original Frank Thomas. Not the one for the Chicago White Sox, but the one for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, let's look. I like that this is a nickname. Gus Bell. I don't know. And then early young Harmon Killebrew. Red Schoendienst. The Brooklyn Dodgers team card. Now that's, as far as team cards are concerned, it's this and the Yankees are the top of the line for this set. Obviously, it's a trimmed up card, so probably that's another candidate for upgrade for sure. There's definitely a lot of them in this set, so it's something I have to look at. Frank Torrey, Joe's brother. Johnny Padres. Hank Bauer, Robin Roberts, Billy Martin. So you can see there's definitely Hall of Famers sprinkled all throughout the set. Early Win, so that's one of my nicer looking cards. This one probably doesn't need an upgrade. This one's probably fine. Smokey Burgess. Monty Irvin, George Kell, Hank Thompson, and Bob Feller. It's pretty decent down there. Okay. And Whitey was very popular nickname in that day. So you got Elson Howard as well on this page. Tigers team card. Okay, looking here. Another interesting nickname, so Bud as the nickname. There you go. Chico, Toby, New York Giants. So there's your Willie Mays. Don Newcomb. And there's Whitey Ford. A couple of these ones need to be probably bumped up. The Don Mueller is pretty bad surface-wise. Sherm Lawler. This one's got paper loss, so these ones are probably going to need to get bumped up. Bob Porterfield. Larry Doby. There's the Yankees team card. Bob Lemon. Bobby Thompson for the Milwaukee Braves at the time. Pee Wee Reese. Okay, nothing too crazy on that one. Let's see, what else we got? Jim Gilliam. Basically all the Brooklyn Dodgers were kind of semi-stars at that time, especially when you're putting together the set. They're treated as such, and same for the Yankees. Red Sox, I think, had a little bit of a premium as well, just because they were a popular team, but I don't know if, it's not quite to the same level. Luis Aparicio. Hoyt Wilhelm on this one. It's pretty off-center. Andy Pafko. For the 52 Topps, the Andy Pafko was card number 1, so that was makes it a little bit more pricey. Joe Adcock. Let's see. Get more towards the end. So Rocky Bridges. Don Larson. And I think 56. I feel like 56 was, 1956 was when he threw the perfect game as well. I think, if memory serves me. I might be wrong on that one, but I'm just trying to remember. And then this was the last page, and the final card, card number 340, was Mickey McDermott for the New York Yankees. So that one has a slight premium as well. Usually the first and last cards usually have them. But that is the 1956 Topps set. All 340 cards in its glory. pretty decent sized set for the era. Obviously the 52 tops is 407, and then there would be some bigger sets to come in the later years and later decades. But one of my favorite sets of the 1950s, no question. A fun one to go through and look at. There's a lot of different things that you can check out. A lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of great players, especially for that area. It's a great cross-section. Like I said, no key rookies in this one, but you do get a pretty good cross-section of some great Hall of Famers, both younger and later on in their careers. So that was my 1956 Topps baseball card set. Went back to vintage. It's not all hockey all the time, but there is a lot of hockey, and you can see a little bit of it. Phil Esposito up there looking, Ed Belfour up there. There's a lot of hockey because I'm in Canada, so we do a lot of hockey around here. Like I said before, I would probably have built the set a little differently if I was going to do it today, and it'll be a long-term project for me to upgrade some of the cards that I mentioned during that video. But I think it's a fun project to have. I like... At the very least, I'm starting from a base of having a complete set. Now it's just filling out the cards that I think could use an aesthetic upgrade. And then get it to kind of almost like a mid-tier level grade where I think I would be fairly satisfied. I don't need to upgrade all the cards. I don't think that's necessary. But it'll be a set that will look the way that I want it to look. And I think that's a good approach for anybody as a collector. Just find whatever it is that makes you happy and the condition that you can work with that balances your budget with what you want it to look like. And then I think you'll be very happy with it. It's a lot easier than starting off with a low condition set and then having to upgrade the whole thing, because that will get a little bit expensive. I've already been down that road. I'm already there. So I don't really have a choice in the matter. I'm going to have to kind of bump it up, but that's okay. It's a longer term project, and I'll work on it as I work through some other things. So that's it for me this time around. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free, and I'd be happy to respond to them. Thanks again, as always, for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.